Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across this great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us as we continue this celebration of the outdoor lifestyle, the history and tradition of hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and wildlife issues and conservation issues and all things wholesome, all things biologically sound, all things biologically necessary, and just plain fun. And I don't know if you can tell, but I feel like there's a little bit of excitement in my voice this week, maybe more than usual. And you know why? It's because it's September. It's September, and this glorious early fall weather is driving me crazy. I absolutely love it. And the forecast calls for more of the same. How nice is this? Lower temps, lower humidities, chilly in the morning. It just gets you work in the right direction, doesn't it? Fall hunting seasons have already started here in Michigan. Early goose and teal season now open. Bear season just around the corner. The youth and Liberty hunt. I know it's the same thing, the Liberty hunt, but the youth and Liberty hunts coming up soon. Small game. Bow season just around the corner. Don't forget about the early antlerless firearm season in parts of our state in September. The DNR is facing an interesting situation. They need more deer harvested. They need hunters to take more deer. Yet they have fewer hunters to work with. So they're thinking, how do we get fewer hunters to take more deer? Well, one thing they've come up with is to expand basically the firearm season. Personally, me, Mike Avery, not a hardcore Michigan deer hunter, but a guy who's out there deer hunting to continue the history and tradition of and enjoy deer hunting with my family. I would like to see, if they want to give us tools to shoot more deer, let us bait deer in the Lower Peninsula. Now you can say, well, Avery, you don't need bait to kill deer. I know that. But there is no doubt when you have bait in the area, you have more deer in the area to increase your odds of taking more deer. Whether you would choose to hunt over it or not is up to you. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. I don't care. You can say, Avery, but there is proposed legislation that would allow for a bait license. I'm telling you right now, and I've been wrong more times in my life than I've been right. I just don't see baiting, legal baiting, coming back to the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. Certainly not with the blessing of the DNR. The DNR has put all of their... They're all in on the concept of CWD, chronic wasting disease, being a huge threat to the deer herd, and the fact that baiting helps spread CWD. And they can't back down from that now. They absolutely cannot back down from that now. I just don't see them allowing baiting, even though I would love to see that happen. What else? I feel like, even though I wasn't an active participant I was an observer from afar, I feel like the salmon season this year was ridiculously good. Maybe one of the best that I can remember in a long time. Limit catches of big fish. Everybody's getting fish. It's just a wonderful fishery. The cicadas, speaking of Mother Nature, fishing, hunting, Mother Nature, cicadas. Cicadas are crazy this year. They were so far off. There's already been a frost in Gaylord. How did that happen, right? From the time the cicadas buzz till the first frost, it'll be 6, 8, 10 weeks? Pick your number. It was more like 3, 4 maybe. Oh, man. What else is coming up? I will be at Jay's Sporting Goods. Oh, speaking of Jay's, I got a call from Cody, the marketing director at Jay's the other day. He says, Mike, are you running some kind of a promo with Jay's that I'm not aware of? And I said, no. What do you mean? He said, we have people walking into the stores, in particular the Gaylord store, most recent, saying, hey, I want to take advantage of the Mike Avery discount, and I want 15% off everything I buy in here today. There ain't no such thing as an Avery discount at Jay's. The Mike Avery discount, the Mike Avery 15, is at Rapid River Knives. So if you go to that showroom, or if you go to that website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, or go to their showroom on US 2 just east of Rapid River, walk in the door and say, I want the Mike Avery 15 discount, there you can get a 15% discount on everything except the Avery signature knife. Jay's doesn't have a Mike Avery discount. Michigan Brand Meats does. You can go to their website, michiganbrand.net, put in the promo code Mike20 and get 20% off your order. But you can't walk into Jay's and get 15% off by saying my name. I don't know how that started, but there isn't one. There isn't one. So don't get mad at the people at Jay's. It's not their fault. And it's not my fault. I've never said there was a Jay's discount. I don't know how such things get started. Anyway, on the 20th, Saturday to the 20th, I will be there Saturday morning as part of their anniversary celebration. I will be there with Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives. We are presenting a check to Andrew Cumtus of Outdoor Driven for the first installment of what we owe Andrew for proceeds from the Mike Avery signature knife. All of the profit from that knife goes to Outdoor Driven, a group formed to get first responders and veterans on outdoor adventures to help them deal with some of the stress that they have accumulated over the years in their chosen career. Now, as the son of a lifelong police officer and friend of many veterans, I think it's only right that we try to do something for them. In my life, in my career, in my world, I've never faced imminent danger of being shot every day I go to work. It's not there. The only danger I've ever faced is the anti-hunters coming out from underneath their rocks saying they want to kill me because I've killed a bear or whatever, killed a bear, deer, pick your species. Avery, you're a coward. We think because you killed that bear, I'm going to kill you. And I'm like, you want my address? I'll send it to you privately. Come on, let's go. Come on. I don't think you showing up on your bicycle with your glasses and your squirt gun or your rocks or whatever, I don't think you're a threat to me, but okay, come on, you're going to kill me because I killed a bear? Okay. So no, I don't face threats like that in my job, but these people have their entire lives, their entire careers. So I teamed up with Kris Duerson at Rapid River. We made the Mike Avery signature knife, which, by the way, is selling very well. All of the proceeds to that go to Outdoor Driven. Kris isn't making a dime. Kris Duerson, I'm not making a dime. Speaking of that knife, we are giving one away. I'm giving one away. I bought one. I bought one to give away at this event. Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant, the last Wednesday of the month. That is the 24th. Lance Valentine is going to join us as a special guest. Andrew Cumtus is going to join us as a special guest. I've got the folks from Killer Food Plots, Truck Trolley. Who else? MUCC. I think Mr. Angler Quest might join us. We're giving away a lot of cool stuff, including a Mike Avery signature Rapid River knife and a truck trolley as well. Call for reservations. There's no charge for the event, but we do need reservations so we don't overbook it, oversell it. 989-343-0892. 989-343-0892. Call for reservations. Oh, that's going to be a great event. I really look forward to that. What else? Okay, the rundown for this week's radio show. Lance Valentine is my first guest. We talk about that Wednesday Night Live event that Andy Weiss of Truck Trolley and others will be at. Also, their fishing education weekend. Lance has changed that from Lake Erie this year to Saginaw Bay. What an interesting decision. We'll talk about that and more. Then Michigan's meteorologist Mark Torrerossa joins me with an outlook for the fall weather forecast. Will it continue to be beautiful and glorious as it has been lately? I hope so. In hour number 2, Al Stewart. Not the Al Stewart who sang Time Traveler or Year of the Cat, but the Al Stewart who for many years was a DNR wildlife biologist, a recent member of the Michigan Outdoor, inductee into the Michigan Outdoor Hall of Fame, and a hardcore turkey hunter. Talks about fall turkey hunting. Now, I've got Al on here because a lot of people have asked me to address the concept, the topic of how to hunt turkeys in the fall, because you can just buy a license over the counter these days. I think that's going to be a very popular outlet this year. Justin Tomei of MUCC is my next guest. He will talk about the possibility, or rather, is there a possibility, because the trial balloon, the concept is already out there, of a separate NRC, Natural Resources Commission, for the Upper Peninsula. Does that have a snowball's chance of happening? I don't know, but Justin will know. And then the man himself, Kris Duerson, answers this week's Ask Avery question. What angle should you grind a knife at? Should it be concave? Should it be straight? What? And then in our third hour, we're talking bear hunting with Richard P. Smith. I just realized I didn't do this intentionally. The Michigan Outdoor Writers just inducted 2 people into the Michigan Outdoor Hall of Fame. One of them, Al Stewart. He's my guest in hour number 2. The other one, Richard P. Smith, who is my guest in hour number 3. I am surrounded by greatness, including Charlie Rood, who is here in the studio with me right now. Of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. Let me know what's on your mind. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. You can hear us in Port Huron on the other side of the state, WPHM 1380 AM. And as long as we're doing a statewide tour, let's go north of the bridge. Let's go to Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by my friends at the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination, also your Saginaw Bay waterfowl hunting destination, and your Mid-Michigan Angler Quest headquarters. Linwood Beach Marina, great people, great facilities, great location. If you are going to be fishing this fall, Linwood Beach Marina, a great place to start your adventure. If you are a waterfowl hunter, again, Linwood Beach, a great place to jump out on Saginaw Bay. And if you are one of those folks who moves on to other things and puts your boat to bed for the fall, Linwood Beach can help you there as well by winterizing, shrink wrapping your boat, even storing it if you want. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. I had an interesting experience last week. Rather than being the person who was asking the questions, I was on the receiving end, and I was asked questions. I was asked questions by Sir Lancelot, Lance Valentine, as a guest on his coffee hour live stream, and it was really interesting, to be on that end of things. I've known Lance forever. I have much respect for him. I think he's a great guy. So much so that I have invited him to be a special guest at our Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant on the 24th, and he's going to join us. More on that later. But I've got Lance on the phone line now to talk about some other things, including moving his fishing education weekend that he's had down on Lake Erie for many, many years. He's moved it up to Saginaw Bay. I want to talk about that and more with Sir Lancelot. Lance, welcome back, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great this morning, Mike. How are you?
You know, the weather has me just smiling. I absolutely love this fall weather. The cooler temps, no humidity. Forecast is looking good. I haven't checked the wind, but yeah, I'm doing good, Lance. And I appreciate you having me on last week. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm actually on the water today. I'm actually Pontiac Lake down by Waterford with a good friend of mine doing some. He's got a bass tournament next week, and we're doing some bass fishing. So it's kind of neat to be in the boat with. Doing a little bit something different, but, talking to somebody, one of the things we talk about a lot at the Walleye Zone is the more you learn, the better your angler you're going to be. And talking to somebody who's really good at what they do, even though it's a little different than walleye fishing, but getting, his take on this, late summer to fall transition, kind of, what the weeds are doing, kind of what the fish are doing, and just kind of having a little conversation about what he looks for in bass fishing. It's basically all the same thing we look for in walleye fishing. So we're just enjoying a beautiful day on the water, having a good time this morning. And so far I got 2 little bass, and we're just kind of having a good time out here.
Well, don't get too used to lipping those fish and then forget and try to lip a walleye.
I won't. I promise that won't happen.
Lance, talk to me about why you moved the fishing education weekend from Lake Erie up to Saginaw Bay.
Well, there's a couple reasons. The main reason is when we started going down to here in Ohio early November. We go down there for one reason, and that's to catch big fish. And they were there. But the weather has changed. Anybody that's spent any time outside the last 10, 15 years knows that the weather is different. And those walleyes are very migratory there. So we got the big giant part of Lake Erie there. They're very migratory. And if we don't get the right water temperature, my buddy just got bit off. If we don't get the right water temperature in the fall, those big fish don't come back to the Huron area. They stay over by Cleveland until it gets cooler and the fish come back. So we haven't had the right weather to bring the right fish to us in Huron. So Saginaw Bay is a little bit different. The migration on Saginaw Bay is a little different because it's not the big giant body of water that Lake Erie is. So even though winter has kind of come later and summer has lasted longer and fall is a little different schedule now, the fishing that time of year, that first week in November, is better for good sized fish on Saginaw Bay than it is in Huron, Ohio right now. So we're coming there. Plus, a lot of our guys are Michigan guys, so now they don't have to buy a license. They don't have to do all the traveling, and it puts them on a body of water that they might not know how to fish in the fall. That's closer to home. They don't have to make a 3-hour trek to go do it. So they can take advantage of some great fall fishing on Saginaw Bay. So all of that kind of came together at one time. Like, we celebrated 20 years last year.
Wow.
In Huron, Ohio. So we've had 2 decades down there, and we're going to kick off our 3rd decade, back home, big fish in your backyard. And we're going to come home to Saginaw Bay and have our event here.
I was thinking that this would probably be a welcome change for at least some of your members because it is going to be cheaper. It's going to be closer to home, a body of water. Maybe they've fished before. And I also love the fact that Saginaw Bay now is starting to become known as a big fish fall fishery.
Yeah, there's a ton of big fish in Saginaw Bay. I'm not going to say they don't get fish because they do. And our friends at Linwood Beach, their marina is crowded on the weekend. So, we're still going to have the boat traffic like we have in Ohio. But I'm looking forward to something different. We've kind of changed the schedule a little bit. We're going to do, all education on Thursday, education on Friday, and really focus on the fishing on Saturday and Sunday, as opposed to trying to do both of those every day. That just gets to be too much. And I'm really excited about teaching new things. The migration route in Ohio, over 20 years, we've kind of beat up and everybody kind of knows it. So coming back to Saginaw and kind of talking about, the big water current, how, there's a huge current in Saginaw Bay that gets a little more aggressive, if you will, in the fall. And how does that affect walleye location? How does the river channel affect walleye location and migration? What are those fish doing that are out now between, the Cigar and Buoy 1? How do those fish start to school up, and where do they move as they start to migrate back to the river? What's the influence of the Saginaw River do with this migration thing? And how do the fish that are in Augrey and a little further north, how do they work their way back? What are the migration routes? So really excited about having to create some new seminars and talk about some new things and teach guys how this whole fall walleye migration actually works so we can get them on some more fish.
How did this whole concept of intense classroom teaching backed up by time on the water, how did that come about?
Yeah, so originally when we started Walleye 101, we did our Gander Mountain classes. So we did 6 weeks in a row, a different seminar each week for 6 weeks at a bunch of different Gander Mountain stores across the state. And one year someone said, he goes, hey, how do we know that we understand this? How do we know? And at that time, Huron, Ohio had just kind of become a fishery. It was always a night fishery, but it just kind of become a morning fishery or a daytime fishery. There was one boat ramp that had maybe 30 parking spots and a little marina that had about 20, so there was no traffic. Nobody was fishing it, and I had fished it a couple times with Mark Sack and a couple other buddies from the Michigan Walleye Tour. And I'm like, man, this would be a good place to take. There's good fishing here. There's nobody here. The town used to close as soon as Cedar Point closed. There was nobody there. So we're like, okay, if you guys want to know if you've learned what we've been teaching, we're going to take you to the water. And the first year I hand wrote invitations to 60 people, and we had 42 people that showed up, and that's how the whole thing started. And it just grew and grew and grew from there. So it was basically taking what I taught in the classroom in the winter time. Guys had all summer to practice, and we went to the fall to see if they really got it. So that was it was just kind of a continuation of what we were doing, taking guys on the water, working together so everybody could see what everybody else was doing so they could get it faster. And that's kind of how the whole concept of the Fishing Education Weekend came together.
So when is it this year? Where is it based out of? All those good details.
It is November 6th through the 9th, and it is based, all of our education, all of our fishing is going to be based. Our good friends at Linwood Beach Marina have been kind enough to give us places to park boats, and they're going to give us a spot in the showroom to actually do all of our seminars every night. So we'll be based out of Linwood Beach Marina. We're going to have dinner every night at Linwood Corners. The folks up there have been gracious enough to host us every night for our meals. So right there, really in a mile and a half circle, if you will, everything's going to happen at Linwood Beach Marina. That's on the water, and then dinner at Linwood Corners, and then back to Linwood Beach Marina to have a campfire every night and talk about fishing every night as the day wraps up.
So how does somebody sign up? Is it at thewalleyezone.com, or where does it happen?
Yeah, well, so we've got a place that they can go. It's WZFEW.com. So WZ for Walleye Zone and FEW, Fishing Education Weekend. So WZFEW.com. We'll get them there with all the information, everything they need to know about what's going on and how to sign up.
WZ for Walleye Zone, FEW, FishingEducationWeekend.com. Speaking of the Walleye Zone, and you mentioned Walleye 101, and then you transformed into teaching fishing, and now you're back to the Walleye Zone. Lance, you're not afraid to change things up when you feel like things are getting stale.
Well, it's we're right here by the Pontiac Airport. We're actually on Pontiac Lake, right across the street from the airport. People learn different, right? So, I can't take credit for the Walleye Zone. It was a good friend of mine who brought the whole idea and built the whole thing for us. So, I can't take credit for that idea. But, when COVID hit, things changed. There was no way I was going to Gander Mountain 4 nights a week. There was no way I was going to be walking into restaurants and getting big places to, host 50, 60 people. So it changed, and we needed a place to put people. And the Walleye Zone platform is perfect for that. He's got about a 2.5 pounder on right now. So the Walleye Zone platform is perfect for that. We can, it's not a website, so we can section it off. It's ours. We control it. So we have everything in one spot, all of our video, all of our seminars, all of our streaming DVDs, all of our monthly content, all of our articles. Everything is in one spot, easy to find, sorted out really easy, and it just makes it easy to go to one place and get what you need.
And you've kind of distanced yourself from anti-social media too, haven't you?
Yeah, we basically right now use social media just to advertise what we're doing. We do some reels and we do some stuff, but social media is just, it just wears on you. You can't have somebody post a picture of a nice fish without 20 people tell them you shouldn't have kept it, or it's too big, or it's too small, or I caught one bigger, and just like, man, it just gets down. So we have complete control over what happens. This is not a website. It's not a Facebook page, although we have all those elements. We have elements of a website. We have a Facebook-style open discussion area where anglers can communicate just like you would on Facebook. We have everything you do every place else, but it's in a controlled way. We call it fishing education without the noise. So we build a platform where people can come, and it's just about fishing. We don't allow any stuff in there. We don't allow any noise. We don't allow any negativity in there. So we have complete control over it. Really, really a cool platform.
We're talking with Lance Valentine, Sir Lancelot, I call him. This website that he says is not a website is the walleyezone.com, the walleyezone.com. Lance will be one of our special guests at the Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant on the 24th. That is in West Branch. Call for reservations, 989-343-0892, 989-343-0892. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Killer Food Plots, Michigan-based, family-owned. Right there, that's all I need to say, right? You know I love Michigan-based, family-owned companies. Rich and Ellie Krizan of Killer Food Plots have done a great job with that company. They are certainly dedicated to helping you get the most from your fall hunting season through your food plots. By the way, they are at the Woods and Water Show in Imlay City this weekend. Rich is doing seminars on food plots. I also do a Killer Food Plots podcast every month as well. This whole concept of food plots I find very interesting. As a kid who grew up on a farm, you know, I had all of this background, how to do such things, and over the years that knowledge is kind of slipped away from me. So I really appreciate Rich's help. His website is killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. Rich and Ellie will be joining us for the Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant on the 24th. You can join us too. There is no cost for the event, but call for reservations 989-343-0892, 989-343-0892. You've got to buy your own dinner. I'm not buying you dinner, but we are giving away some cool prizes, including a truck trolley. Andy Weiss of Truck Trolley will be there too. And giving away a Mike Avery signature knife, as well as some other giveaways as well. Another special guest joining us for that event, Sir Lancelot Lance Valentine. Now, Lance, if I remember right, I think the last time you were up there was when we had the Outdoor Expos a few years ago.
That's the last time I was up there. We did a seminar. I had just got my Angler Quest, and we were doing a seminar on Saginaw Bay trolling. We talked about fishing skinny water. We talked about trolling fast, and talked about running all your lures on one side of the boat at the same depth. And people went, huh? And I saw a lot of those people later, and they're like, that works. So yeah, I remember that very, very well.
That Lumberjack. Oh, by the way, they have completely redone the facility since you were up there. But man, they've got some great food at that place.
Yeah, you know, believe it or not, you know, we used to have a cabin up in Grayling, and that was one of the places we used to stop and eat. I can remember going in there and having dinner, and you know, it wasn't what it is now, that's for sure. But yeah, a long time ago, stopping there at the gas station restaurant and just kind of hanging out. So yeah, that's been something that we've been doing for a long time on our outdoor adventures, and looking forward to seeing the new layout. Really looking forward to it. And the food is always good there, so looking forward to a fun night. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it as well. And this will be a chance for people who have never met you in person, or who have maybe met you at certain venues, but, you know, they didn't really have a chance to talk to you. Now, I realize, you know, there's going to be a lot of people there this night, and you can't sit down and have a 20-minute conversation, but it'll be a chance for you to meet people, shake hands, and answer some questions, and I appreciate your availability to join us that night.
Yeah, number one, I appreciate the invite, and always looking forward to meeting new people and talking about fishing. So, you know, I'm going to stick around till they kick us out. So I'm definitely not a come and eat and talk and go guy. So as long as people want to sit around and chat, I'm sure we can find a place to sit down, have a cup of coffee, and talk about fishing. You know, one of the things I love to do probably more than anything else in the world is talk about fishing. So really looking forward to meeting some new people, and looking forward to hanging out with you. We hadn't had a chance to really just hang out for a while. So really looking forward to that, getting to know some of your listeners. I pop in every once in a while on your Wednesday Night Live, your Wednesday morning when I get a chance, and I see a lot of the names, so I'm hoping some of those people are there, and we put a face with the name, and just enjoy hanging out with outdoorsmen and talking about things that we are passionate about.
Well, it will be a lot of fun. Again, your website is the walleyezone.com, but there's another website set aside for the Fishing Education Weekend. It's WZFEW.com, Walleye Zone Fishing Education Weekend.com. Is that open now for people to sign up? I mean, we're not talking until early November, but it's not too early to start thinking about, you know,
no, we're about halfway full.
Oh, really?
We're about halfway full. So, you know, we are limited in number. We cut it down. You know, traditionally our Erie trips were 65 to 70 people. We cut this year down to 30. We're going to stay at 30. So now I have more time over the 4 days. I should be able to get 15, 20 minutes with everybody that's there and really have some personal attention to maybe something they're struggling with, or maybe some help on the boat, or whatever the case may be. So we're coming back home to Saginaw Bay. We're going to kind of teach how to fish this great fishery, and we're going to have a lot more individual time with everybody, limiting our attendees to 30. So yeah, if they're interested, sign up. Preferably sign up with a buddy if you can. If not, if you've got a boat and don't have a buddy, we can find somebody to fill that seat. If you want to come and don't have a boat or a buddy, we can find a spot to put you. So anybody that wants to come, we'd be more than happy to have them. Always looking forward to having people attend our events.
Oh, so you don't have to have a boat to be part of this?
No, we've got enough guys. I think, we've got 4, 5, 6 guys right now who are coming. Their partners can't come, or they just want to come by themselves. And we pair people up. And believe it or not, through the 20 years of the Fishing Education Weekend, we've done over 80 trips over those 20 years. We've paired people up who never knew each other before the trip, and some of those have become lifelong fishing partners. And believe it or not, we actually had 2 guys come. One brought their young daughter, one brought their young son, and 6 years ago, they met at a Fishing Education Weekend about 12 years ago. 6 years ago, I actually married the 2
I
of them.
remember them. You did the ceremony on your angler quest, I think.
You just might find the love of your life at Fishing Education Weekend. Who knows what's going to happen?
On that note, we will let you go, Lance. Lance Valentine of the Walleye Zone, thewalleyezone.com. If you want to be part of the Fishing Education Weekend, the website to sign up, WZFEW, Walleye Zone, fishingeducationweekend.com. And if you'd like to join us for Wednesday Night Live, the number for reservations is 989-343-0892. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on 2 stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Lansing, WILS 1320 AM, and in the Yup, in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Versa Skins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of expensive hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set and snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern? Check them out online at versaskins.com or amazon.com and do a search for Versa Skins brand. Paul Perrone, owner of Versa Skins, is at the Woods and Water Show in Imlay City this weekend. Stop by, say hi, and tell him you heard about him on the Avery Show. So I was talking earlier about how much I am enjoying this glorious weather. I mean, this is absolutely beautiful. We have one man to thank for this, Michigan's most well-known meteorologist. His name is Mark Torrerossa. You can find him on mlive.com or his website, farmerweather.com. Mark, thank you for the weather. I just can't say enough. You have blessed us so very much, my friend.
Well, first off, I got to say, I can't take any thanks. You know who does? The good Lord above. I don't know if I'd want that. I don't know if I'd want that pressure.
Yeah, because if you take the credit, you got to take the bad too.
I feel like I have a couple of politician friends, and they say, if you come out of a normal life, like say you became a politician, Mike, they said, well, here's the problem. 90% of the people love Mike Avery now. If you became a politician, 50% won't love you, 50% will.
Politicians,
and where I was going with this is winter here in Michigan. I'm convinced that 51% of the people hate winter here in Michigan, and 49% of the people absolutely love it. So I don't tell you which I like. I love them all.
But as a meteorologist, you've got a little leeway. It's one of those things where you don't have to be exactly accurate. Yet I have followed you over the years, and I think you've got a darn good track record.
I think in our science, with so many variables, I think we are extremely accurate. Extremely. And what has happened over the last 30 years is, as our accuracy has gotten great at 5 days, then everybody wants the 6th day to be accurate. And as the accuracy got good, really good at 6 days, then it's 7 days. It's almost like that nightmare where you're being chased by a bear or you can't reach something. It's always moving out. But I think we do a good job. There are times when we could do really good long-range forecasts. Strong El Nino in the winter. We can with about 80% accuracy at September 1st say, hey, our winter is going to be warmer than normal and drier than normal in Michigan. And we don't have that this year. We don't have an El Nino. We may have a weak La Nina that will fade quickly, so it really will not have an effect. So we're going into the first winter in quite a while without an El Nino or a La Nina, and that can lead to cold outbreaks if they're still there. We got to put the foundational thing that the globe is warming, and so it's tougher to be cold through an entire winter. But this winter, there are some things that would say we could at least get close to the normal cold of Michigan. You love me now, or you hate me?
I'm not a big fan of you right now. No.
Okay, you're the 50, you're the 51%.
You know where I'm coming.
If I talked to you
what about
10 years ago,
what about as I get older, I don't like winter more. Yes. Well, what about that beautiful season between now and winter, fall? What can we expect over the next couple of months?
The extended forecast from NOAA, and they're pretty good at this, is warmer than normal conditions. I get a quiz for you, Mike. What area do you typically hunt on, say, opening day, November 15th?
Mid-Michigan, southwest Midland County.
Okay. What would you say is the average high temperature on November 15th in Midland County? Average high temperature.
Average high, I would say 40 degrees.
I'm looking at the map right now, November 15th, where you're hunting 46.
Not that far off.
Not that far off, but you're talking 30 years average. And remember, we chop off every 10 years. We chop off the old 10 years and add on the newest 10 years. So the average has actually shifted upward over the last 3 decades as each old thing has been chopped off. So here's what I think. There is cold air up there. We're enjoying this cool fall. So typically what will happen is the first cool outbreak will come down, last a couple of weeks. That's going to be now. It looks like summer comes back about the mid-September. I'm seeing some of my most consistent models in a form that I like, seeing 80s to near 90 for 3, 4, 5 days mid-September. You work that off. Your next cool blast comes in the first couple of weeks of October. Now am I intriguing you?
You are, and now we're out of time. See, you're so good at this, and you know exactly how much time you have. You're a master at this because you've been a broadcaster and a guy in the public eye for so many years. Mark Torrerossa, always enjoy our conversations. We've got to have a more lengthy conversation coming up soon. You can find Mark at mlive.com or farmerweather.com. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back in our second hour, we're going to talk a little fall turkey hunting and more here on Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. And welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across this great state of Michigan. And in my mind, the best way to listen to this show, if you can, is on your local radio station, your local AM or FM Outdoor Magazine affiliate. If you can't, if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, yes, this is a 3-hour show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, and there really aren't many parts of our state not covered, and the reasons that aren't covered, I think it's a good reason, from my perspective at least. But if you can't listen to the broadcast version of the show, isn't it nice to know that there is a podcast version of the show that is available? It's the same content. It is the same subjects, the same questions, the same word for word. The podcast version is the same content as the radio version, but the podcast version of the show is not made available until after the broadcast stations have aired it. I want to do everything I can to protect those radio broadcast affiliates. They are my bread and butter. They are what makes this possible. To just do a podcast, this whole thing wouldn't work. It's based on a radio show with a podcast supporting it. So where do you hear the podcast? You can hear it on my website. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page, and it is on all of the other podcast outlets. Wherever you hear your podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can probably hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. I do like podcasting, though. I think it's a great way to reach people, and each month I do podcasts for some of my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, and Killer Food Plots. So keep an ear out for those as well. Well, we have made the change, I think, in my mind. You know, once we hit Labor Day, the weather changed. We got into September. I mean, my mindset changes, right? It goes from this summertime way of looking at things into the fall way of looking at things. One of the things that I will continue to be doing this fall is fall turkey hunting. Now, I think there's going to be more of an interest in this in general this year because the DNR has changed the way you get your fall turkey tags. You didn't have to apply for them this year. You can just get one. And it's across, I don't know if it's across the entire Lower Peninsula, but certainly much of the Lower Peninsula. Areas that had not been open to fall turkey hunting before are now open to fall turkey hunting. It'll be interesting to see what the response, what the reaction is to that, and how many people actually take advantage of that opportunity. For me, I don't target fall birds like I do in the spring, but I always have a fall tag in my pocket, so if birds wander by me while I'm deer hunting, I can legally take a fall bird. But I'm getting a lot of response, a lot of questions from people saying, how do I hunt turkeys in the fall? You know, for many, many years now, when I have had a question about turkey hunting, I have gone to Al Stewart. Al has been a real source of mine, a mentor of mine when it comes to turkey hunting. He is a guy, well, he was a DNR wildlife biologist for many, many years, working with our Michigan turkey population. These days, he's doing something that I am so fascinated by. He is the head or the director of the Nimrod Education Center at Hillsdale College. We'll talk more about that. But also, Al is a recent inductee into the Michigan Outdoor Hall of Fame. How cool is that? And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Al, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for inviting me to come back and talk about one of my favorite things, turkeys.
I know that's one of your favorite things. Hey, listen, I was not able to make it to the induction ceremony for the Hall of Fame celebration. How did that go?
Oh, it was very good. There were a lot of people there actually, and old friends, new friends, and I was just really humbled by everything that was said and done, and the people that were there, and just to kind of be considered one of the people for the Hall of Fame. So yeah, it actually kind of brought a tear to my eye when we were in the process of the presentation. Nice. So yeah.
Well, and this is a coincidence, I didn't do this intentionally, but the other inductee was Richard P. Smith, Richard actually joins me in the third hour of this week's show. So I've got a who's who of outdoor icons on the show this week. So thank you for helping to make that happen.
Oh, well, great. I mean, yeah, I've known Richard for, like you, many, many, many years.
For forever.
Forever. And, from when we were young men to now. And, he wrote an article about turkeys for the National Wild Turkey Federation magazine back in about 1975.
Wow.
One of the earlier articles about wild turkeys in Michigan. And so it's fun to, have that association too. Most people know, Rich is the bear guy or one of the deer guys, that type of thing. And the guy from the UP. And so, it was just such an honor to be, in the same room with Rich and receiving this, great award, like what you said, this recognition. And, I think Rich is probably just like me. You do your job, you love your job, and then out of nowhere comes something like this, and it's just like, oh, wow.
Well, you've certainly earned it, and I know you for many years as a turkey hunting guy. I love turkeys. I absolutely, I would love to turkey hunt more than I like to deer hunt. But this whole concept of fall turkey hunting, it's a whole different mindset than springtime hunting, isn't it, Al?
Oh yeah, and it's fascinating because most people today think of turkey hunting, as well as a spring turkey hunt. The reality of it is, turkey hunting for many, the initial part of turkey hunting was a fall season. Even in Michigan, the first turkey hunting season was a fall season, in 1965, and just a small area down there by Allegan, where we had gotten some birds from Pennsylvania and part of our early restoration piece. But fall turkey hunting was turkey hunting across the nation. That was it. There was no spring turkey hunting. And then in 1965 for us, there were 400 permits issued, and there were 82 birds taken. So that kind of gives you the idea of what it was all about. And some fall hunting in other parts of the country, you didn't have some of the same successes that you see in the spring, but you hunt them really quite differently. But what I like about fall seasons is, when you get one, it's like it's fall, it's Thanksgiving time.
Mm-hmm,
and so,
mm-hmm.
you've got this fresh bird and you can serve it at Thanksgiving. And, here in Michigan, the turkey season runs from September 15th to November 14th. There's lots of time. It's also during the archery deer season, like what you're talking about. Most of the turkey hunting in Michigan through the years has been really, for the fall part, has been not people who are serious about turkey hunting and just go out and you say, I'm hunting turkeys. It's a lot of people who are deer hunters who, like you said, hey, I have a tag in my pocket. If a turkey walks by here, I have a chance. But the fun part of turkey hunting is really to go after them, just like you would in the spring. But the way of doing it is quite a bit different.
How so?
Yeah. So in the spring, or in the spring, it's a tom male only, bearded turkey only. In the fall, you can shoot males or females. Although the majority of the birds that are shot in the fall are toms with beards, 60%. But here's the difference. Even before the DNR changed the season structure, you could hunt fall turkeys in almost every part of the state, but there were only about 3,400 people who participated, or I'm sorry, there were only about 3,000 plus birds harvested, compared to 34,000 birds harvested in the spring. So there's quite a level of magnitude going on here.
I'm actually surprised they're
interested.
I'm gonna work our way into a break here, and we'll come back after that, Al. But I'm surprised there aren't more birds than that taken in the springtime. I figured it'd be over 100,000 birds.
Yeah, not in and 34,000 ranks us in the top 4 to 10.
Okay.
In the nation.
Well, hang tight, Al. We got to take a break. You've been with me enough. You know how this works. We're talking with Al Stewart, wildlife biologist, spent many years at the DNR. Now, these days, the director of the Nimrod Education Center at Hillsdale College. I am fascinated by this group. I think it's an absolutely wonderful group that is educating folks about the role of hunters in today's world, and it is a very important role. Nimrod Education Center at Hillsdale College. Al Stewart, member of the Michigan Outdoor Hall of Fame, and a guy who knows more about turkey hunting than anybody you're going to talk to, certainly anybody that I have ever talked with. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Manistee, WMLQ, 97.7 FM, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT, 600 AM, 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Rapid River Knives. And for the first time since I can remember, I don't have a Rapid River knife in my pocket. It just doesn't feel right. Here's what happened. I had my Mike Avery signature knife last night, and I was eating a nectarine. And it was kind of a nice, hard, firm nectarine, so I was eating it like an apple. So I had my knife. I took it out of my pocket. I'm cutting slices out of this nectarine. And then I took the knife, and I laid it on the table next to me. And then I got sidetracked. And so I don't have a knife with me. I do not have a Rapid River knife with me. Now, here's a lesson to be learned, right? So what I'm going to do now, since I have about 6 Rapid River knives now, I'm going to take one of those knives and I'm going to put it in the console of my truck. So if, God forbid, something happens and I forget to have a Rapid River knife in my pocket, I've got one in the truck. You know, I'm a big fan of Rapid River knives. These handmade knives by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. They come with a lifetime guarantee. And here's the cool part. If you use my promo code, MikeAvery15, you can get 15% off anything you order on the website, RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com, or if you go into the showroom on US 2 just east of Rapid River. Now, the promo code is not eligible to be used for the Mike Avery signature knife. And the reason we're doing that is we don't want to take the profit out of the knife because we want those profits to go to Outdoor Driven. Every Mike Avery signature knife you buy, either on the website or in person, all the profits from that knife go to Outdoor Driven, a group formed to get first responders and veterans in the outdoors on adventures to help them deal with the stress and trauma of their career. Along that line, at Jay's anniversary sale, Saturday, September 20th, Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives and I will be presenting a check to Andrew Cumptus of Outdoor Driven, the first installment from the profits of that knife. And believe me, the knife is selling very well, so thank you for that. The website, RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. That's RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. Don't be caught without one like I am today in the studio. It just doesn't feel right. RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. Talking now with a guy who is an icon in the Michigan outdoor world. His name is Al Stewart. He's a former DNR wildlife biologist, these days director of the Nimrod Education Center at Hillsdale College. We're talking about fall turkey hunting. Before the break, Al, we were talking about the difference in this fall season and how you target birds in the fall. It's a different ball game than springtime, isn't it?
It certainly is. And in the fall, different than the spring. In the fall, I think you have to really use all your woodsman skills, your scouting skills, as like one of your number one things you have to do. Spring turkey, you need that, but you can get up early in the morning or whatever and hear a turkey gobble, and you kind of say, oh, there's a turkey over here somewhere, along this creek bottom or whatever. In the fall, what you're looking for is turkey sign. Oh, the toms gobble a little bit, but nothing like in the spring. So what you have to look for is, I look in the same places I generally find spring turkeys, but you look for turkey tracks, turkey feathers. You in the mornings when you have located a place where you see some sign, in the mornings you can hear the hen and her younger turkeys that are with her, making all sorts of turkey noises, chirps and yelps and things like that. So you can listen for that. And again, the toms will gobble a little bit. Usually the jakes, kind of they're teenage boys again, and they're starting to really establish themselves in that pecking order of who's the boss, who's the biggest here in the flock. And so you'll hear occasional gobble that way. But scouting is really key to it. In northern Michigan, we have a lot of those sand roads, so you can see that. The other thing to focus in on is foods that turkeys eat, like acorns. So you'll see in an oak woods the scratching of turkeys, looking for the acorns, kind of trying to find a worm or some other insect under the leaves. The cool part of that is, as they scratch in the leaves, they scratch with their left foot for 3 or 4 times, then with their right foot 3 or 4 times, and then they kind of move on. But what that scratching does like that is make a V in the leaf duff. So the point of the V is pointing in the directions that the birds are going through the woods. So midday, if you find some fresh scratching, and you see this V of the number of turkeys, that's the direction they're going. So, like with any turkey hunting, the best thing you can do is be halfway between where they are and where they want to go.
So you're not actively calling them in the fall as much as you are hunting them more like you would hunt deer.
Well, a little bit, but at the point that you find the birds, now you've done your scouting, you say, oh, there's birds in this woods here someplace, or, in the morning, seems like they're roosting along here. I've heard them. Then you make a different call. In the spring, you're mimicking the sound of a hen turkey trying to attract the tom to you. In the fall, what you're doing is usually trying to mimic the sounds of the hen who has these, her brood still with her. They're larger turkeys, but they're flocking birds. And a lot of times in the fall, or starting about now, you'll have 2 or 3 hens that have their brood with them. So you'll see these larger flocks of 20 plus birds, and they all kind of hang together. And the toms, the big toms that we're familiar with in the spring, they become bachelor groups, like in June. They just kind of go off, and 3 or 4 of them will hang around and tell bad jokes, and, drink coffee somewhere away from where the ladies are, and then the majority of the birds are these hens with their younger, inexperienced birds with them. So the combination of what we call a jake, or young hen, hens too. But here's what you do. Now, I've done this before. This is the traditional way of hunting fall turkeys. And what you end up doing is finding this flock of turkeys in the woods, or in the woods is one of the better places. But then what you do is you get as close as you can to them, and then you run at them and scare them up. And some would even shoot a shotgun into the air, the West Virginia kind of guy, shoot a shotgun up into the air. And your goal is to make this flock of turkeys disperse, 365 degrees away. I mean, they're in all corners of the compass. That you want this flock to break up that way. And then what you do is you sit down you're wearing camo, but you sit down by the tree where you scared them all away, and then you call. And you make a call called the Kiki Run. It's the lost call of the turkeys, the young turkeys. And I have done this. My other philosophy is, if you can get that close to them, why don't you just shoot one? but that's not the real core and the full enjoyment of hunting turkeys and calling turkeys. So you sit down there, you make this Kiki Run sound. You sit there quietly for like 15, 20 minutes. Then you start making this Kiki Run sound, and all of a sudden there's these other birds all around you making that same sound. Or sometimes what will happen is, you're sitting there quiet, you're kind of letting things settle, and then you hear this bird, like straight south of you, making this Kiki Run sound, and the lost call sound. So what you do is mimic that sound. Whatever that turkey says, you say that.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden these birds come into you. And I've had them where, they're kind of social, so this may be the first time they've been really split away from their other flock buddies. And I've had them where they just come running into you. I mean, just running. In fact, I have not taken a shot sometimes because there's been a couple birds that are running so fast to me. I mean, they run right by me. So, and it is, I made light of it a little bit earlier. It is a really great way to call and hunt turkeys. And I love it dearly. Some of the hardcore folks say, I just want to shoot a tom. And so I'm going to go after this smaller group of toms that are out there and there's things called tom yelps. They're not as, they're deeper than a hen yelp, and they're slower in cadence, and a few clucks thrown into that, and you can call these big toms to you. But that's where your scouting comes in, because you start to look and say, okay, here's a big flock of hens and young hens and jakes, and then here's a flock of 3 or 4 longbeards. So I'm going to hunt these. I've found these longbeards, and I'm going to find where they roost. I'm going to kind of pay attention to what they do, and then I'm going to call them with these clucks, tom clucks or other sounds, to bring them in close to me, into that 20, 25 yard range to be able to harvest a nice one.
Al, always in our conversations, we could go longer. Like, one of the things I wanted to talk with you about, and we just don't have time, but I'm just going to throw this out to the universe here. From a biological perspective, it feels like the number of birds are going down in Michigan by expanding this fall season. Is that a concern? Can you give me a yes or no? Is that a concern from a biological perspective?
Well, yes. Because you're shooting hens and toms. No, because you're not going to shoot very many of them. But there are some states that have seen declines in turkey numbers who have eliminated their fall seasons.
Okay.
But most states have a fall season. We have one. The beauty of it is we manage our turkeys, very succinctly. And if something comes up, we can make that, the DNR can make those adjustments.
And next time we get together, let's end up talking about the Nimrod Education Center, because I think that's a fascinating topic as well. Al Stewart, keep up the good work. You and I will talk again soon. Have a wonderful fall season for turkeys and all of your other favorite upland game birds. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, Justin Tomei of MUCC. What about this concept of having a separate NRC, Natural Resources Commission, for the UP? You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on more than 30 stations across our great state of Michigan, including the Twister 92.1 WTWS out of Houghton Lake. Out of Ludington, News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN, and north of the bridge in the Sud, WKNW 1400 AM. So, listen, when I have a question about what's going on in Lansing or with natural resources or whatever, I go to my friends at MUCC. I'm a strong believer in MUCC. I've partnered with MUCC on many different topics. So when the concept of the trial balloon was floated of a separate Natural Resources Commission for the UP got brought up last week. I thought, you know what, the best guy to talk with about this from a kind of a neutral perspective is Justin Tomei. Justin is a policy guy at MUCC, and he's with me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Justin, always appreciate your time, buddy.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good. So tell me, is this thing got a chance, or is this just people flexing their political muscle to look good for their constituents?
You know, to answer the first question first, no, I don't really think that this has a chance. I don't think that it gets through both chambers. Nothing's really getting through both chambers right now anyways, which is a whole separate issue. But this is an issue that's been floated before. It gets introduced every legislative session by the same group of people. And I don't think it's just them flexing their political muscles for their constituents. I think it's something that they generally want and then think would be a good thing. But I don't see it going anywhere the way things currently stand now.
Okay, I got to move on to something else here now. And I wanted to mention this earlier in the show, but I didn't because I didn't know if I could. Something major has happened at MUCC that took me by surprise. I am very deeply disappointed, but I'm going to let you follow up on that however you can.
Yeah, all I can say for now on behalf of the organization is that Amy Trotter, our CEO, is no longer with the organization. We will have more on that when the time is right. So that's all I can say right now on behalf of the organization. On behalf of just me, Justin Tomei, the individual that knew Amy, she's been a force in conservation for 18 years. She's a fantastic person. She's forgotten more about our issues than most people learn in a lifetime. And just me, myself, I'm going to miss her. And we're going to figure out the new path forward for MUCC and figure out what's next and keep on doing what we do to, conserve, protect, and enhance our natural resources and outdoor heritage.
Amy is a force. And I've used the same phrase, the same term so many times. When I was talking with her, and when she wasn't part of the conversation, she has been a force in the conservation world in Michigan for so many years. I'm hoping that continues. I know you can't say too much, but was this all a surprise? Was this in the works for a while, or what?
I can't say anything on that. Like I said, we'll talk more about it when the time is right. What I will say is that the staff here, we still have a phenomenal staff. We're going to pick up and keep carrying the flag we've been carrying to make sure that all of us have access to whatever outdoor pursuit we desire, so that my kids have it, my grandkids have it. And we're just going to keep going. We're going to do what we do. It just might look a little different.
Is there an interim leader in place?
That's something the board is working on. Yes, there is something in the works. That will be part of the announcement when we can make it.
I know I'm putting you in a terrible spot. And
I know.
And forgive me for doing so, but I have to continue to do so. So when does this official statement, announcement, or whatever, when does this come out?
That's not my decision. That will be when our board finalizes the next steps. So whenever they make their decision and are ready to announce who's going to be taking the lead, but that's ultimately going to be on them. So when it's ready, I will put it out, and I'm sure we can have another talk about it at that time. But for now, the continuity is going to be through me on the policy and advocacy side, through Tyler on all of our communications, Steve on events, things like that. So all of that is remaining unchanged for now.
See, that's I guess kind of where I was going with this. I feel like, again, from the outside, that everything was perfect. You had the right leader, you had the right people in positions of authority. Obviously, not everybody agreed with that, but the mission continues, right? The goal continues.
The mission continues. We are all continuing the work we were working on before we found out, and we're going to keep doing it now that we know. So everything's getting spread out a little bit, but it's the work goes on. Hopefully, our goal is for you guys to not even see speed bump as we go through that.
Yeah. Well, Justin Tomei, I will tell you, when I found out about this, it absolutely took the wind out of my sails because I have much respect for Amy, but I also have much respect for MUCC. So I am optimistic that things will continue in the right direction, and I will continue to support the organization, support you and Justin, and you and Steve and Tyler and everybody else there as well. So. I appreciate you giving us a heads up on this. I know your hands are tied a little bit, so we'll talk about this more in the future.
I appreciate it. We all love this place, Mike, and we're going to we do it to fight for the mission, and that's not going to stop. All
right, Justin, I appreciate that. Hang tight if you would. I want to talk with you off the air here one more time. Justin Tomei of MUCC, MUCC.org, MUCC.org. Listen, I've been pushing for membership for MUCC for a long time. I still, obviously, they're a great organization. I believe they are, or I wouldn't push for them. MUCC.org. Become a member, support conservation, and we can have future conversations about this. MUCC.org. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Holland on WHTC, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. You can hear us on the other side of the state, out in the thumb, Sandusky, WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ, 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they want to help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. You know this by now, but the way the Ask Avery segment works, this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. If you have a question for me, send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. If you have a question you want me to pass along to somebody else, send me that same email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That is exactly what Vern Pratt did. He said, Mike, I received my birthday present early. Your signature folding knife from Rapid River Knife Works. I love it. Well, first of all, Vern, thank you for that. The Avery signature knife is selling very well. Thank you to Kris Duerson of Rapid River for working with me on that. So Vern continues. So I've never had a definitive answer as to what blade edge is best for a hunting/outdoor knife. Should you sharpen it convex or straight? Any thoughts? Well, I have thoughts on this, but it doesn't matter what I think. So let's go to Kris Duerson, the man behind Rapid River Knives, the guy who partnered with me on that Avery signature knife. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Kris, welcome back. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. I'm great.
Hey, so first of all, Vern says he loves the knife. It's selling very well, isn't it?
It's selling great. We've had a tremendous feedback on the knives. Everybody's loving it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, and just a little programming note here. You are coming down below the bridge Saturday, September 20th. You and I are meeting at Jay's Sporting Goods in Clare, and we're going to present a check to Andrew Cumptus of Outdoor Driven to reflect the first payment from the proceeds on that knife. So, Kris, God bless you for that. Thanks for doing that.
Hey, no problem. I mean, this has been a great opportunity for everybody, and what a great cause. Yeah. I couldn't think of a better cause.
Well, and you are so involved in veterans organizations and first responders and stuff. So this is perfect. But let's get back to the question here that Vern is asking. So he said, if you have a hunting or an outdoor, a knife you're going to use all the time, say the Avery pocket knife or any of your other Upers, what is the best angle? Is it convex or is it straight?
So this will be a lifelong argument, and everybody's got their own opinion on it. Two things: they're both good grinds. They're both good grinds. I'm looking for edge life and edge retention. So if it's a knife that you're going to use every single day, you want to put a little bit of a heavier grind on it than a convex. A convex is very thin. So let's say your knife, it's a pocket knife. Everybody knows what they use pocket knives for every day. It's just the most random stuff. You're cutting rope and zip ties and whatever you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you grind that edge real thin and you convex grind it, the second you hit something hard or something that you shouldn't be cutting, which everybody does, you roll your edge over. The other grind, the way we grind it, gives you you have a chance. If you hit something hard, it won't roll as fast. So that's I mean, it's very simple. That's the reason we grind our knives the way we do. So on a hunting knife, if you're looking to skin and cape white-tailed deer, you can do both with the convex grinder or straight. You will not field dress as many deer with a convex ground knife as you would with the way we do it. You won't, because you're going to hit bone. And even if it's unintentionally, you're going to hit it. So we try to take that out of it for the average person that doesn't know the difference at all. We try to give them the most edge life as possible, and that's why we choose the straight grind.
A quick follow-up. What angle then?
Well, so we hand grind all of ours. Ours are typically, if you're talking about our 40-degree knife sharpener, you're looking at a 20-degree. You're looking at about a 20-degree angle, which is pretty good for almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people that just fight for the convex grind are, there's people that like to sit around and shave paper, little slices of paper off and that kind of thing, which is fun if that's what you're into. But I mean, I'm into the edge life and edge retention and we sharpen and polish our knives free for life. So I'd rather not get them all back right away. Right? I'd rather somebody use them for a full season before they decide to send them back to us.
Oh, Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives, you know more about knives than anybody I know. So if you say a straight edge, I'm going to go with a straight edge. And that's the way the Mike Avery signature knives come. That's the way all the Rapid River knives come. Kris, thanks for working with me on this project. Thanks for stepping up and answering this week's Ask Avery question. And I will look forward to seeing you at J Sporting Goods in Clare the morning of September 20th.
Sounds good, Mike. Looking forward to it.
All right, Kris, appreciate that. The website for Rapid River Knife Works, by the way, is rapidriverknifeworks.com, rapidriverknifeworks.com. Use the promo code MikeAvery15 to get 15% off anything on the website or in the showroom except for the Avery knife. And thank you to the folks at Security Credit Union for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. We'll take a break. For the top of the hour, we're going to come back and talk bear hunting in hour number 3 with Richard P. Smith.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by J Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, and this is our number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us as we jump into this month of September. Isn't this a wonderful time of year? At least for me it is. I absolutely love this time of year. I think for the most part, the hot, muggy weather of summertime is behind us. It's been cooler now. The humidity's down. Forecast looks pretty good. The fall hunting seasons are starting. The early goose season is already in place. It used to be the experimental teal season. No, now it's just the teal season is in effect, is in place. What have we got coming up? We've got the youth season, the Liberty Hunt. We've got small game season coming up. We've got bow season coming up around the corner. But the thing I'm most excited about, and I don't even have a tag for this year here in Michigan, is bear season. Man, I love bear hunting. I've said this so many times on the air and in private conversations. I love bear hunting. It is my favorite thing to do in the outdoors. If I could just bear hunt, turkey hunt, and fish for walleye and have to give up deer hunting, I would do it. I mean, I love the camaraderie of deer hunting. I love the fact that I get to deer hunt with my family, my son James and the grandkids. That's what I love most about deer hunting. But man, you compare it to bear hunting. Oh, I love everything about bear hunting. I don't have a Michigan tag this year. I learned from Richard P. Smith. Well, I've learned a lot about bears from Richard P. Smith, and he's standing by in the wings. We're going to talk more with him here in just a couple of minutes. But Richard has taught me so much about bear hunting, including the fact that if you apply for the third season in parts of the UP, you can get a tag every other year, if not every year. So that's my strategy now. What I want to do is I hope to go to Ontario one year and then get a Michigan bear tag the other year so I can alternate, but I can bear hunt every year. I love bear hunting. And I can't tell you why, other than the fact that maybe it's because I don't see bears all the time. Where I live in mid-Michigan, I can see deer every day. And every deer I see, I think, oh, that's really cool. But I don't see bears a lot. So when I get in a blind a dozen yards from a bait and I have a bear come in, I don't care what size it is. To me, it's just an absolute thrill. And it's so challenging. The challenge is to judge the animal. And again, when I talk about judging bears, these are skills that I have learned from Richard P. Smith. You know, I didn't, again, consciously set up the show this week, but this is the way it worked out. I have the two most recent inductees into the Michigan Outdoor Hall of Fame. Al Stewart in the second hour, Richard P. Smith in the third hour. Again, it's like a who's who of outdoor icons. Richard P. Smith, welcome back to the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine, Mike. How about you?
Well, I'm doing good. I got to be honest. I'm trying to put my Ontario hunt behind me. You know, I've told the story over and over again that I was not able to recover that bear. I learned a lot by that experience. But doggone it, I love bear hunting, and I'm looking forward to my next hunt. And I suspect you probably have a Michigan tag.
No, not this year.
Not this year. Okay.
I didn't even apply.
Oh, Richard. What's that all about?
Well, family health problem.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
it continues.
Yes,
so.
That happens. Let's talk about bear hunting here in Michigan. I feel like it's becoming more popular, but I wonder if that's not jaded by my love for bear hunting. What do you see, Richard?
Well, you're correct. It is becoming more popular. The number of applicants for bear tags or a preference point for bear hunting is steadily increased. It was 69,000 last year. It's up to 72,000 people applied either for a point or a tag for bear hunting in Michigan. That's a lot of hunters.
What's the appeal in your mind?
Well, most of Michigan residents, like you, live in the southern part of the state where there are very few bears. So it's not an animal most people see very often. Even in the Upper Peninsula here, where we have the most bears in the state, you don't see them very often because they're secretive animals, stay in thick cover. There's a shroud of mystery around black bears because so few people see them on a regular basis. And the fact that they can hurt you or kill you if the circumstances are wrong.
And every once in a while you do hear that story. But I talk to a lot of people say, oh, I'd like to go bear hunting, but I'm afraid. I'm like, that black bear, unless you get into a weird situation, that black bear is a lot more afraid of you than you are of it, right?
Exactly. That's very true. And there is this perception, a false perception among many people that they have to be afraid of bears. And that's because when there is an attack on people by bears, it's widely publicized, and you hear about it. But it's still very rare. We might have one or two incidents where people are injured by bears, and most often it's a female with cubs that's being protective. She feels her young are threatened.
So along that line, if somebody has a bait that it is being frequented by a sow and cubs, should they give up that bait then? Should they move on to something else?
No, unless those are the only animals visiting it. It's common to have especially in the Upper Peninsula, but even in the northern lower, it's common to have multiple bears on baits in prime bear habitat. I've frequently had baits with multiple males and one or two females with cubs. But if you've got a camera on the bait and the sow and cubs are the only ones you see, I would move on to a different spot, because females with cubs and their cubs are protected in Michigan.
You know, you're talking about the distribution of bears in Michigan too. I live in mid-Michigan, central Michigan, and I am so glad to see bears wandering into our neck of the woods. I mean, we've got bears routinely around farm country here now. We've got them out by our lease property. I don't know if the number of bears is expanding. I guess that can be argued, but certainly the range is expanding, isn't it?
It is, and bears are increasing as well. The DNR has the most recent population estimate of bears that are at least a year old in areas that are open to hunting in Michigan is about 12,500 approximately. But that estimate is before bear season opened in 2024. It does not include the current population in 2025, nor does it include cubs. So that's a minimum number. But basically the population is trending upward and has been trending upward for a number of years.
Maybe a strange question, but at what age does a black bear become a legal target? Is there such a distinction?
Year and a half old.
Year and a half.
Year and a half old. When they're on their own for the first time, when they're about a year and a half, they separate from their mother and establish a home range of their own. And some yearlings could be 150 pounds. Others are less than 100 pounds, depending on whether a male or a female. Females tend to be smaller than males. But when they're a year and a half, well, in the fall, they'd be a year and 3/4 old. Mm-hmm. That's when they're legal. But we have a new definition of legal bears in the regulation booklet. I think bears that are at least 42 inches in length from nose to tail are legal bears. I'd have to look at the regulation booklet, but hunters can refer to that booklet to know. I didn't
know that was in there, but that to me,
that's a recent change.
Doggone it though, that makes things. That's one of those things that in my mind just makes things more complicated. How am I going to look at that bear and know he's 42 inches long?
Well, if you have a log as a ruler at a bait site, you're hunting over bait, you can put a log of a known length and gauge the bear's length against that log. Use that as a ruler. But as most hunters are looking for the biggest bear they can find to shoot, so most hunters pass up small bears. Even though regulations protect cubs and females with cubs, most hunters are looking for an adult male, the biggest bear they can find.
Hang tight, Richard. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. We're talking to Richard P. Smith, his website, richardpsmith.com. Charlie, I got to ask Richard real quick. Are you downstate as this show is airing? Are you at the Woods and Water show?
I'm going to be, yes.
Okay, Richard P. Smith.
This weekend.
Excellent. If you are listening to this show and you want to talk to Richard in person, swing by the Woods and Water Outdoor Weekend at the Imlay City Fairgrounds. For the Big Woods and Water show, Richard is there. You can tell him, hey, I just heard you on the Avery show, and now you're here in person. How cool is that? The website, richardpsmith.com, richardpsmith.com. We'll take a break. More with Richard coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM, and you can hear us also. Let's go to Taos, WIOS 1480 AM 106.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Reeder Landscaping. Reeder Landscaping, been in business for 60 years now. Paul Reeder asked Angie to send me a list here of things they're working on that you might want to consider for this fall. Fire pits. How cool is it on a chilly fall night to sit around a fire pit in the backyard? Pavers, landscape lighting, new garden planting beds, garden beds. Give your landscape a jump start for spring by scheduling your dormant pruning. I will have the guys come back to my house and prune again. Fall leaf cleanup. That's a big one, isn't it? A lot of these things that we're talking about with Reeder, if it's a bigger project, yeah, these are things that are probably beyond your abilities and mine as well. But the smaller stuff, like the pruning and I can do that. The maintenance, the fall cleanup, I can do that. But why? If 3 or 4 guys from Reeder can come in, spend 2 hours doing it, that's a whole day that I would have had to spend doing it. So I'm a big fan of these folks. I think they do a wonderful job. Hardworking, conscientious people. The website, reederlandscaping.com. That's reederlandscaping.com. Another website for you to check out is richardpsmith.com. That is obviously the website of Richard P. Smith. Richard, as you are hearing this radio show, Richard is at the outdoor weekend, the Woods and Water Outdoor Weekend at the Imlay City Fairgrounds. Obviously, the Eastern Michigan Fairgrounds in Imlay City. Richard, since the last time we talked, though, you had the ceremony to induct you into the Michigan Outdoor Hall of Fame. Congrats again on that. How did that go?
It went fine. As I said before, it's a tremendous honor to receive that recognition. I still have a hard time believing I'm included in such a prestigious group of outdoorsmen, and the first one from the UP.
And how cool is that? And actually, I had Al Stewart on in the second hour, and he was talking about what an honor it was for him to be at a ceremony like that, sharing the limelight with you. So he has great things to say about you too, Richard, as do people across the state.
Well, and I enjoyed joining Al in being inducted at the same time.
Getting back to bear hunting, which is, people know you. I think people know you as the bear guy and primarily and the deer guy secondary, or maybe vice versa. But what do you think is the biggest challenge of bear hunting? Is it to get contact with a bear, by bringing them into the bait, or is it actually judging the size of that animal once they come in?
Both. It depends on the year. A lot of hunters who hunt bear over bait, or first-time hunters especially, are not aware of the role that natural food supplies plays in their potential success. When we have abundant natural food supplies, bears spend less time at baits. That reduces the chances of hunters who have permits for that year of being successful. I've had years when I've had difficulty even seeing a bear at baits, even though I had bears visiting them. Most often when there's abundant natural food, when they come to a bait, it's mostly after dark, when it's not legal to hunt. So the availability of natural foods plays a very key role in how many bears you're likely to see and what size they might be. Incidentally, I just interviewed a hunter who took the oldest bear taken in Michigan last fall during the 2024 season. It was a 27-year-old female.
Wow. How big was she?
She dressed out at 298. Kevin Adams from Iron Rivers, the hunter who got it in Iron County, he estimated the live weight at about 350, which is very big for an adult female.
Yeah. So what would
but
be...
every year, every year there's a number of bears that are over 20 years old.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. You know, that obviously 26 is crazy, but the life of a bear in the wild, 15, 20 years?
Well, they're capable of living longer than that, but most of the bears taken by hunters in Michigan are between 1 3/4 and 3 3/4 years old. There's far more young bears in the harvest than older ones. But those who are selective or lucky get the older, bigger bears.
So what's the average weight, if it's even known? What's the average size of a black bear taken by a hunter in Michigan?
150 to 175. Or you could lower that to 125 to 175, in that range. Much smaller than most people realize.
Yeah, and there's no animal I've ever hunted that has ground shrinkage like a bear. I mean, meaning when you first start hunting, you look at that animal bait and you think it's a certain size, you shoot it, walk up on it, and you go, well, that's not as big as I thought it was. I hear that I've done it, and I hear new hunters say it a lot as well.
Yes, it's common. And I want to clarify one thing I mentioned earlier about a length limit for legal bears in Michigan. The reason that length limit was established is there's a tremendous overlap in size. Some yearling bears, which are 1 3/4 years old in the fall, are smaller than cubs in other areas like the southern UP or farm country where they have abundant food. So they have this length limit established recently to reduce confusion. Most cubs will be there with their mother, and they're easy to identify. But if cubs come into a bait by themselves, which sometimes happen, it's easy for beginning hunters to make a mistake, not knowing how big it is. And the only way you could really tell the difference between a cub and a yearling is look at their teeth, and that's impossible under a hunting situation.
I'm actually glad you brought that up, though, because I wasn't aware that regulation was even out there on the books. You talked about baiting. I want to talk more about this. Is this a science? Is this an art or what? But I mean, first of all, what should you use for a bear bait? And more importantly, how often should you rebait?
Well, in an ideal situation, baiting every day increases the chances of having bears visit more often. And you don't have to put out a lot of bait if you bait on a daily basis. 5-gallon bucket of bait is plenty on a daily basis. But if you can only bait 2 or 3 times a week, you can put out a larger quantity that lasts more than a day. And that works. Some people from southern Michigan who drive up and bait on their own, they bait once a week. On private property, you can use barrels. If you've got a 50-gallon barrel on private property, you can load it up once a week, and that works well. But barrels are not legal on public land.
And what should you use for bear bait?
Granola works really well, especially if there's nuts in it. Nuts are a favorite natural food of bears, so they love those. Fruits work well. Corn, but if you use corn, something that deer also eat, you're limited to 2 gallons per day when baiting for bears. And you have to cover that so it's not accessible to deer.
And how do bears act when they come into a bait? And can you tell anything about the pecking order of the hierarchy of that bear when he comes in based on its behavior?
Yes. Subordinate bears, where you've got multiple bears on a bait, the smaller, younger bears that know there's bigger bears utilizing that bait, they'll come in slowly, cautiously, sometimes circle the bait to make sure no other bear is there that might hurt them. Adult males will prey on cubs and yearlings if they get a chance. Will kill them. They certainly will chase them away if they're at a bait when they arrive. So if you've got a bear on a bait and it looks small, you think it's small, and it suddenly takes off running, that's an excellent indication a bigger bear is coming, or another bear at least. Dominant bears tend to walk right in without a care in the world, sometimes making a lot of noise. So that's some of the behavior signs. A subordinate bear will also sometimes grab a piece of food from the bait and walk away to eat it rather than eating at the bait.
I just think bear hunting in general is just such a wonderful activity. I love it so much. I have yet to hunt with hounds. I have nothing against it. I just haven't done it yet. But I do get people who are uneducated, say, who have told me that, look, at hunting over bait is unsporting and unfair. What you should be doing is spot and stalk these animals like they do in some western states. Here in Michigan, is that really feasible, Richard?
No, it's not. Our habitat where bears spend most of the time is too thick. You can't see very far. And I'm glad you brought up this point. A Michigan congressman introduced legislation that would ban bear baiting on public land. And the guy is totally uninformed. He's listening to anti-hunters who want to end all hunting. And he's espousing the same thing you said, that hunting over bait is unsporting. But it is very important in Michigan, where sows with cubs and cubs are protected. Baiting allows hunters to clearly identify protected versus legal bears, to shoot ones that are legal and pass up those that are protected. It also increases the chances for humane kills, hunting at known distances, waiting for a bear to offer the best possible shot. 89% of the bears bagged in Michigan are taken over bait. If baiting were banned in Michigan, we could not harvest enough bears to properly man them. We would have more human-bear conflicts, far more than we do today.
Richard, always a pleasure talking with you. I would encourage people to stop by and see you this weekend at the Eastern Michigan Fairgrounds in Imlay City at the Woods and Water Outdoor Weekend, where you will have books and such for sale, and willing to talk to folks. And I, again, congratulate you on your recent induction into the Michigan Outdoor Hall of Fame. I wish you a wonderful fall, and you and I will talk again soon.
Great. I hope you have a great fall too, Mike.
I will. You can bet on that. Richard P. Smith, the website richardpsmith.com. That's richardpsmith.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, I got to talk a little bit more about something that was brought up earlier in this hour, plus a few more topics, and then we'll wrap up the entire show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. That's right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM, and you can hear us in Saginaw on WSGW at 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now, but you know by now, for these 3 hours, I call this one little corner of the building, I call it the Outdoor Magazine studio. And actually, I did see a memo or a note a couple of weeks ago where an engineer here at the station was referring to this as the Mike Avery Studio. So I've seen it in print now, so it is absolutely official. This is the Mike Avery Studio for 3 hours a week. I'm in here with Charlie Rood. Charlie, just a man of so many talents. He is the guy that keeps WSGW going. He works 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. He's always here. I don't care what time you call him or text him or email him. He's here. But you know what? It doesn't go unrecognized, because there are people out there today, because it is such a nice day. I mean, there are... Charlie, look, you don't believe me. See him? They're out there. And you know what they're chanting? Charlie, Charlie, Charlie. Charlie, a good guy. Charlie, I appreciate his help. I appreciate Jonathan Dent's help. I'm blessed to work with very, very good people here. Okay, speaking of good people, if you were with us earlier in the hour, you heard Justin Tomei of MUCC make this announcement. This is something that I wanted to talk about in the first hour of the show, but I wasn't quite able to. Amy Trotter, executive director of MUCC, is no longer with MUCC. Now, this came as a very big shock to me. I work very closely with MUCC. I have worked very closely with Amy Trotter for, 20 years. I have much respect for Amy Trotter. I have called her a force for conservation here in Michigan repeatedly, because I believe she is a major force for conservation here in Michigan. I, from the outside, think she has been a tremendous leader of MUCC, and I personally am very sad to see this happen, to hear this news. I intentionally reached out to MUCC several years ago and said, look, I think you guys and I have common goals in mind. We're working for the same goals. We're promoting the same thing. Maybe we should partner up and maybe we should work together. And I have worked very closely with MUCC for several years now. And I make no excuse or, I'm proud of that. But I'm very, very sad to see Amy not with MUCC anymore. Now, there are no details out there. Amy has confirmed this. MUCC has confirmed this, but I'm not getting any other details. But I didn't want you to hear this news in a couple of days and go, why wasn't Avery talking about it? I thought he was tight with MUCC. Well, I am tight with MUCC. And it is my intent to continue to work with MUCC and to partner with MUCC under whatever leadership might be coming down the road here. And I don't know who this is. I'm hoping that, we can still continue, say, the golf outing next year. For the last 2 years, we've had a Mike Avery Outdoors charity golf outing to benefit MUCC's youth camp. I'm hoping this is something we can continue to do into next year. I like to get the folks from MUCC on the show every couple of weeks to get their input, their perception, their insight into, all things outdoors coming out of Lansing. I'm hoping this can continue. I'm still, very tight with the staffers at MUCC there in Lansing. I mean, for all I know, maybe a new CEO leader comes into MUCC and says, "Hey, we don't want anything to do with Avery. Don't talk to him. Don't partner with him. I don't think that's going to be the case. I hope not, because as Justin said, the mission continues to promote and protect and enhance our outdoor heritage here in Michigan. But this really, honestly, when I heard this, it took the wind out of my sails, because I have so much respect for Amy and I've worked so closely with her. And I know she is so well respected in the outdoor industry, the outdoor world here in Michigan. I don't know the details, what has happened behind the scenes. I don't know what led up to this. I don't know how it happened. But like I said, Amy has confirmed that she's no longer with MUCC, and MUCC has confirmed it as well. So I wish Amy nothing but the best. I have respect for her as a professional, and I consider her a friend. So I wish her and her family nothing but the best. And, of course, I want nothing but the best for MUCC, because as MUCC goes, I think Michigan outdoorsmen and women go, because I believe MUCC has the best interest of hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers and conservationists at heart. And I sincerely hope that, Justin's intention of doing that in the future, it comes to fruition. I think they're a great organization. The website, mucc.org. I would say, if you are considering joining, now is a good time to do it. I've been pushing for MUCC membership, strength in numbers. They need the financial backing, the financial support. So mucc.org, mucc.org. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we will wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. And I think, if I remember right, he has a pickled fish recipe, because there was a request from a listener last week to do a pickled fish recipe. So that's coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. So glad to have you along with us. I love doing this, and I couldn't do it without your help. I also couldn't do it without the guests that I have here on the show. You know, I don't pretend to be an expert at anything. I'm really not. I am not an expert at anything. I am a passionate participant of the outdoor lifestyle, so I can talk about that. But I couldn't sit here for 3 hours and talk about, you know, hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and give you advice from an expert point of view. No, because I'm not. But I have friends who can, and I have friends, well, I have one friend in particular who is a master when it comes to cooking fish and wild game. And his name is wild game chef Dixie Dave Minar. And we wrap up each week's show with the chef as we are today. David, welcome back, buddy.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm enjoying this weather. How about you?
Yeah, really. I'm glad we're out of the 90s.
Oh, I am too. That was so miserable, but it's so nice out there right now.
Boy, the air conditioning never shut off.
Oh. Hey, you might remember, Dave, last week we had a request from a listener. He said, hey, can Dave do a pickled fish recipe? I think I asked you on the air last week if that was possible, and I think you said yes, didn't you?
Yep. We got a pickled salmon recipe.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
You know how people make, like on buffets and stuff at restaurants, you see pickled herring?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be about exactly the same thing, except in smaller version of it.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so you're going to need about 2 to 2.5 pounds of boneless, skinless salmon fillet, 6 tablespoons of salt, 2 cups of white vinegar, 2 cups of water, 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, 1.5 to 2 tablespoons of pickling spice, and about 5 or 6 small onions. And you're going to slice them real thin because pickled herring has a lot of onions in it. And that's probably what most people would see in the grocery store. So you need to rinse the salmon and pat it dry and cut it into about 3/4 by 3/4 inch pieces, and spread the fish a single layer deep in the shallow baking dish. Sprinkle about a tablespoon of salt over the top of it. Put it on the side. Let it stand uncovered about 30 minutes. Rinse the fish well. Careful, don't break it up because it's going to be delicate. Pat it dry with a paper towel. Combine the vinegar, the salt, the water, the spices in a 2.5 to 3-quart pan. Bring it up to a boil. Simmer it about 30 minutes. That's going to break all the flavor loose that you need to do this dish with. So you're going to layer the fish and the onions in about a pretty decent size casserole. And so what you're going to do is you're going to pour the simmering liquid over the fish, cover it up with saran wrap after it cools down a little bit, and let it cool down some more. When it's nice and cool, put it in, say like a couple of quart jars would work real good. So you're going to alternate fish, onions, and then you're going to put the liquid over the top of the fish, let it cool down. When it's nicely cooled, after you cover it up, you're going to refrigerate it. And after about 24 hours, you should be able to start eating it. And it should last at least, it's got a lot of vinegar in it, so it's probably going to last 8 to 10 days before you have to eat it all up. And I made, for a guy about 30 years ago, he had a request for pickled pig's feet.
Oh, I remember those. Yes.
Yep. And then, so I made this for that gentleman, and he loved them homemade. So it's the same recipe.
On this pickled fish, then, you said like 8 days-ish or so. Is that, forgive me, because I don't remember. I mean, I grew up around like pickled pig's feet and pickled fish, but I don't remember. Does this have to go in the fridge then when you're not eating it?
Yep.
It does?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You store it in the refrigerator. Now, pickled pig's feet, what you're going to do is take like larger salad bowls, and you're going to put the pickled pig's, you're going to put the feet in it, and then put the liquid over the top. And it gets real gelatinous from being like that. And pickled pig's feet, the guy really loved them.
I had a grandma and grandpa who loved them, and honestly, when you said that term, it made me smile because I haven't heard that for a long time. But boy, it used to be a real delicacy around the grandma and grandpa Avery farm household. So thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for that memory, Dave. I appreciate it.
We did too. My grandma made them all the time. It was quite a delicacy.
Like you've always said, there's almost no end to what you can eat if you are willing to experiment and not be so uptight about what you eat.
Right, exactly, right. Because people all over the world eat other stuff other than
They sure do. They sure do.
You have to just look at their dietary habits and say, well, it's good for them, so it should be good for us.
There you go. Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. Always a pleasure, my friend. He is a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you, because if you weren't listening, there'd be no reason to do this. Don't forget, Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Lodge in West Branch on the 24th. Call 989-343-0892 for reservations. 989-343-0892 for reservations. And don't walk into Jay's Sporting Goods and tell him you want the Avery 15 discount. That Mike Avery 15 is only at Rapid River Knives and not for the Avery Signature Knife. We'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.